Howdy folks, and welcome to another Divide at Impera multiplayer battle. This is a 2v2 with the following people that you can see on the screen. I'm teamed up with the Numidians, Spobu, and our opponents are Atropatkin and RDA. Very interesting mix-up of factions here, not Roman Carthage, if you will. I'm probably the most boring one here. I brought a solid 7 Neo-Homoi Hoplites, not the Thurakate Hoplites, not the very best ones. I took slightly cheaper ones because I needed to afford my army. I'm balling on a budget. Of course, we've got our natural Hippeus. That's not really a choice. That's the only one you get. We've got some garbage Helot Javelinmen and some garbage Helot Archers. These are essentially just intended to pressure the enemy a little bit, make them think that I have something that may be a threat. Something they can charge cavalry into that I don't care about. And I even warned my teammate, please don't try to save my skirmishers, I don't care about them. I mean, these in total maybe cost 2 grand out of my 20k budget. I brought a couple of Simekoi Prodromoi, as I butcher all of the pronunciations. Javelin cavalry, they're a little bit cheaper than the actual melee Spartan cavalry, and the fact of the matter is that the melee cavalry isn't good enough, so might as well go with someone that can actually skirmish and maybe get some missile hits off. My teammate went with my counterpart, so I went very heavy infantry. Oh, I almost forgot. I brought some Skirite. I always bring Skirite. So, to be the counterpart to my heavy infantry build, my teammate brought some fairly weak infantry of his own, just some medium spearmen without a whole lot in the way of armor, and tons and tons and tons and tons of javelins, but most importantly, he brought these. Light missiles, light missile cavalry, and more light missile cavalry, and then some actual heavies, some heavy boys. Let me remove that the names from the screen. Now our opponents here of Atropatkin, he brought heavy missile cav with lots and lots of armor. And we'll see what the RDA brought in a moment. Our strategy here was push them real hard on that left flank. See if we can overwhelm them with a huge cavalry advantage. Skirite have a lovely trait. They are currently invisible. And it's not just the hill that does that. They're just straight up invisible until they get very close to the opposition. However, we didn't get the immediate rush start that we wanted because, well, our opponents maybe planned for such a flanking move or intended to do a flanking move of their own. You can see the RDA here are just in this big, wide formation, not a proper single line of any kind. They are in a take up as much space as possible formation, probably just to slow us down, surround us. It's about at this moment that my Skirite actually do get detected, finally. Also, say goodbye to frame rates. Frame rates aren't real. It's a 2v2 battle. We have some nice volleys that get off. You can see some hits went off on the general there. The lovely heavy missile cavalry unit that he is. Not too much damage though. But you can see they've taken some casualties already. Especially these cataphract archers. That feels good. You want that damage to go off if possible. We decided to sort of engage them at an oblique line, at a weird angle, to try and force them to match that. So you can see we're pushing hard on the left flank, and if we can break them on the left flank and move in forward, we would trap them, pincer them into that angle. So my job with my Skirite is basically to just engage them as fast as possible. Just punch them in the face. Even though Skirite aren't really designed to kill cavalry, what they do is they survive for longer than they have any right to survive. They have some javelins, and they really just perform pretty well, I've found. Really, the guerrilla and the vanguard deployment give them an advantage that most units can't match. The Germans are a notable exception. They can they can kick Skirite's ass. I'm pretty damn sure. They just have really, really good Vanguard units. Though I don't know if they also have the lovely hiding traits. I think they do, though. So basically, this first section of the battle consists of me just running around and trying to catch people. And I noticed the general here was out of position. He goes down immediately. I'm not sure if he actually dies there or not. Not entirely confident on that one. He may not have gone down. You can see these cataphracts here chasing the friendly general here, and they catch him. A misplay on the micro there. Misplays on micro happen a lot. For example, here comes an enemy cataphract charge into my Prodromoy cavalry, and I moved all of my missiles into that. Let's enjoy this for a moment, because I certainly enjoyed watching it. Yup. So while my ally there was misplaying his micro, well, so was so was our enemy. So essentially, Atropatkin here, our Atropatkin enemy here, he came with just elite cavalry, and that's about his entire army. It's nothing but cataphracts and elite horse archers, lots and lots of horse archers in general. Very agile force, very dangerous. You can see they absolutely butcher my cavalry here. I wasn't paying attention to them. I was doing some stuff with my Skirite, trying to run them around, trying to do things with those, trying to pincer people. We got a pincer off over here. It looks like this cataphract actually gets engaged, surrounded, and murdered. That's not a cataphract at all. I see the word super heavy shot cavalry, and I go, must be a cataphract. Not always. So unfortunately, the cavalry here is in a difficult position. They really can't do much. You can see here he's trying to just stop me, maybe get my units to run away, but I don't care about my helots. I actually ordered them to charge here, and then I ordered my general in. Just shake them up, take them out real quickly, and while that's happening, I have a whole host of archers over here that I'm pulling out to assist my teammate. So unfortunately, our opponent, our cavalry counterpart here, he has a harder job than my teammate has managing both sides of the battle with a cavalry-only army. Trying to manage all of those units at once, while, you know, my teammate here, he just has 6 javelins. Not a whole lot of micro involved there. You can see my Skirite did finally start breaking. They're slowly going down, but they definitely, they give a nosebleed on the way out. They really don't do that well in the way of kills here. Really, their job for this battle was just survive, don't die too soon, give us time to fuck around with them. And again, you can see the opponents on the right flank, they just really don't have enough to commit to us, which is why I've just got my Hippeus and my skirmishers and nothing else. I feel like that's enough of a deterrent. So while that's happening, I decide we're going to start pushing up now. All they've brought here, all the RDA have brought here are some medium melee infantry. I don't think these are bad units. These, sort of like a light pike unit. I've never used those myself. So, looks like the RDA brought a medium line of weaker infantry backed up by some elite infantry. Not a bad way to go for the RDA especially. RDA tend to do okay with their levy class and middle class sort of troops, and their high tiers aren't the best. So maybe protecting them from those early charges would be wise. Now, to some extent, we didn't necessarily win the left flank, you could say. It's a bit of a wash in some ways. We didn't decisively destroy them on the left flank, but the cavalry has been significantly weakened, and the most important units in my army are not dead. By half. Now, the RDA also do pretty well in terms of armor piercing. Let me see what these are. These are just swordsmen. So really, against my Spartans, these swordsmen aren't going to do the best. They're not going to do the best. They don't have the AP. Armor penetration of 2, it's just not really enough. RDA would have been better off maybe going with Axemen instead. Knowing that you're going up against Sparta, it's going to be a high armor faction. So now the main infantry class is finally engaged. I just kind of charged in to get the charge bonuses, and you'll see as we go, I'll start manually activating phalanx. Give you a nice little tactical overview. These 2v2s are fun in the sense that the battle is so spread out. So you can see there's a nice little flanking action going on here for my ally. He's pushing in from both flanks while I'm basically just pushing up the front. So we're putting a lot of pressure onto them. We even have some steady reserves of spearmen in the back that just aren't deployed. They're not doing anything. They're just chilling. You can see there's a nice little gap here. I'm going to push through, and now you can see my lines are more organized. They've gone into phalanx. These all of these medium melee infantry units are effectively dead. Super duper dead. Now RDA here is trying a nice little move. You can see they're splitting apart those archers there, those missile infantry, and he's pulling in his Hippeus, his general unit. But I still have a lot of my ammunition. I turned off fire at will, and I did not use my arrows or my javelins for as much as I could avoid it. And I don't care about losing these again. I do not care about losing these units whatsoever. I'm not retreating. And in fact, it's not impossible that I order a charge. Now, mainly my priority here was to get my Hippeus out of there, and I believe this is possible what the RDA commander was doing here. He might have been trying to pin down my Hippeus and surround him with some swordsmen. Getting rid of the Spartan general might be a wise idea, or at least pinning him would be a wise idea. But as you can see here, we punish this solo charge very badly. And that general does go down, I do believe. You can see the horses collapsing as the arrows come in. And again, Helots are probably the worst archers in the game. They're not valuable, but the nice thing about Divide et Impera is that units that are not valuable because they're not valuable. Having throwaway units is not a bad thing. Let's give us another overview. So you can see this envelopment on the left flank. This is just brutal right here. During the battle itself, I couldn't really keep much of an eye on this. I mean, you can see I'm not just standing idle while the fight's going on. I am issuing orders here and there, doing little things here and there. You can see I'm focusing down this unit right here that did manage to get the surround on us. This is their elite melee infantry, so pretty effective. And in fact, this was probably a bad target for me. I did not actually have time to see what unit this was. So 35 armor against missiles that don't really have too much armor piercing. The javelins do, but the archers don't. Maybe not the best target. You can see though some of these swordsmen are getting ready to rout, probably because the general is down. I'm not sure if they're disciplined either. The Illyrians, no, they are not disciplined. No discipline trait, so losing your general in this case is double bad. There's some cavalry fighting going on the edges of the map too. There's action going on just about everywhere. At one point here, I made a huge misplay. I had these Prodromoi right by this fight right here, with these medium spear infantry versus these Thwerophoroi. I could have helped, and my cavalry was just sitting there, was not paying attention whatsoever. You can see me here, some of my javelins have run out of ammunition. Don't care, just tossing them into the fight. Doesn't even matter. At this point, we could feel that that we had turned the tide and started winning. You can see my ally here bringing in his reserve spearmen that he just left out for the whole battle, which in this case, he's got fresh troops. I don't. You can see here my Spartan infantry has held very steady. I'm not sure if I lost any of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like, nope, 7. I kept every single Spartan infantry. The armor piercing on those swords is just not enough. It's just not enough to do anything. And we're getting plenty of flanks, surrounds. The left flank is completely gone. You can see I have my cavalry coming in. Just for fun, really. they were never gonna do particularly well. But yeah, now they're double dead, triple dead. Now, something you may not have caught quite as easily is that as these units are starting to collapse, at some point I do switch over to fire arrows to just finish them off. There they go. I've heard, and there they go. I've heard some people kind of talk shit about fire arrows because they don't really do much to morale. It's just 1 or 2 points. I think that 1 or 2 points is worth the cost of a 300 dinar unit. You can see this went from shaken to wavering. That's important enough to keep in mind for me. The big danger, there's some more fire damage here. The big thing to keep in mind with fire arrows is, of course, they do affect your own units. So you definitely don't want to. You don't want to do what I just did right here, which is fire into my own men. At this point, however, we did rout everyone, took them all down, and we resolved the battle. You'll have a moment to look at the screen. I would just pause that. Oh no, okay, we can continue. I forgot this was a feature for some reason. I'm stuck in campaign mode. So in terms of our losses versus kills, well, I certainly didn't get the most kills. My teammate here definitely picked up the most kills. You can see my Skirite in terms of kills did not do very well, but I do think they did their job, which is much more important. You can see ditto with a lot of my units. A lot of my units really didn't kill much, but the kills they had certainly mattered. Like these javelins, you know, some of these kills were probably those heavy cavalry. Now let's see here. Now, of course, on this end, you have tons and tons and tons and tons of kills. Rear charges, killing enemies as they rout. The javelins here with their surrounds just butchered everything. Even the spearmen did a fantastic job. My hoplites performed well. More importantly than anything else, they just didn't take many losses, and they were in the thick of it. They did take the brunt of the infantry, the melee infantry. But melee infantry in this case, they just weren't really suited, I think. If they had been axemen, they might have done better, I think. I don't really take these lepodes in much high regard. I don't particularly care for them. I just don't think they're very good, and it's the opinion of many that the Illyrians just aren't very good in general for their cost effectiveness. In fact, there's a unit that costs as much as this for the Medoi that is just objectively better, and I think every way except I think they have slightly less weapon damage by 2. But that's a theme that continues across many Illyrian traits. Now the elite cavalry force here, the cataphracts did really well. Cataphracts did really, really well. So did some of the archers, but you can see some of these just went down without really doing anything. The general here, we saw him go down so early. This Lancer archer hybrid went down. This unit got no kills at all. That's really rough. Really rough to see units go down without killing anything, really. Like this one. We saw this one get butchered. Our Hippeas didn't really participate that much. But alright. Hope you found that enjoyable. An actual victory for once, though I can't say that I personally carried the day. I just think it was, we had a decent strategy that, and a decent factional match versus their factions. Maybe their mistake was using the RDA. The Illyrians. Who knows? Alright guys, I have a couple more of these to upload, so see you next time.